Hello friends, my name is Vrinder Kumar Sattavan. I am here to give presentation on construction of INA metro station over existing revenue tunnels. In this presentation, the topics we will cover are as follows: introduction, general arrangement and sections, design consideration and construction approach, stages of construction, monitoring program, presentation of results, and finally conclusion. In introduction part, let me tell you about salient features of INA metro station. To integrate line 7 with existing line 2, an interchange station at INA has been constructed at New Delhi. The interchange station of INA is unique in its design approach due to the following reasons. The rail level at this station is only 7.2 meter below the ground level. This had to be done in order to cross the alignment of line 2 tunnels between existing INA station and Ames metro station. To cater such a high platform level, the undercroft level has been constructed over concourse level in contrast to typical underground station where concourse level is above the undercroft level. Also, the concourse level is not continuous but split up into two parts with the existing tunnels running in between. The OT duct had to be hanged to roof slab above the platform level in contrary to typical underground station where it has been over the track. Also, in order to ensure paid entry to platform, the ticketing and check-in facilities had to be planned at ground level itself. This is the layout plan of INA metro station. Here you can see the dotted line showing the existing INA station, and this is the new INA station. This area is called tunnel crossing over area. This is the location where the station had to be crossed the twin board tunnels. This is the longitudinal section of INA metro station. Here you can see the part of station crossing the tunnels, the undercroft level. This is the undercroft level, and this is the concourse level. The concourse level is split up into two parts. One is left side of tunnel and other is right side of the tunnels. The entry exit is constructed on ground level with ticketing facilities. You can see here. These are the entry exit. Now the salient features of tunnel crossing area. The undercroft slab of the station box of line 7 width 23 meter has been constructed over the operational twin tunnels with minimum clearance of 1.05 meter. This has been done first time in India, wherein a structural work has been undertaken to such a proximity of an operational metro tunnel. The existing tunnels of phase 2 were constructed using TBM tunneling method with precast lining, and the proposed station of phase 3 was to be constructed by cut and cover methodology. The portion of new station above the operational metro line has been constructed using diaphragm wall and contiguous pile with top-down approach. This is the blow-up plan at tunnel crossing over area. Here you can see the station D wall on both sides of tunnels. These are the tunnels shown in dotted lines emanating from existing INA station. These are the contiguous piles. This area has been divided into 6 compartments with the help of these piles. You can see here, there are two types of pile. One is shown in yellow in color and other one is in red color. The pile shown in yellow color has been terminated just 1 meter above the crown of the board tunnels. And the red piles are longer piles with more depth. This is a section at tunnel crossing over location. Here you can see the roof slab, the undercroft slab, the concourse slab, and the tunnels emanating from existing INA station. These are the shorter piles and these are the longer piles. This is the longitudinal section at tunnel crossing over area. The figure shows the compartment 1, 2 and 3 and also the piles which are terminating about 1 meter above the crown of the tunnel. Here you can see. This is a 3D view of tunnel crossover area. You can see here, this is a roof slab. This is the undercroft slab. This is a concourse level, and this is a platform slab. Here you can see the contiguous piles and the existing tunnels, and this is a new station. I hope this view can make the things much more clear in your mind. Now, design consideration. Existing twin tunnels emanating from existing operational station had 9.32 meter of soil overburden. For the construction of new station, 8.27 meter of this overburden has been removed to construct the base slab, platform slab and roof slab of new station. Removal of this overburden pressure from the top of existing tunnels would lead to a total displacement consisting of first, rigid body displacement, which occurs due to reduction in overburden, and second, ovalization, which occurs due to lateral soil pressure. Here you can see the figures explain the effects of rigid body movement and reduced overburden. The first figure shows the rigid body movement, as it was possible that whole tunnel can shift upwards, resulting upheaving of area above. Secondly, the reduction in overburden due to excavation of soil increased the horizontal pressure, resulting ovalization of the tunnel. Now let us talk about construction approach. Due to relatively small vertical distance left, 1.05 meter, between the bottom slab of station and top of operational tunnels, special attention had to be given to the design and construction methodology. Entire construction area was divided in 6 compartments using contiguous board piles to isolate the small compartments from each other during excavation activities below roof slab. Roof slab was casted in single operation over the entire 6 compartments and further loaded with earth fill at the top for about 1 meter thickness. Excavation activities below roof slab were restricted to 2 compartments only, side by side. The subsequent stages were planned carefully, which allowed the removal of overburden in small areas to minimize the adverse effects on tunnels. The design cum proposed monitoring program confirmed that the serviceability of operational existing tunnels is maintained during the construction of new station above. Stages of construction. Stage 1. Installation of contiguous piles. Instruments were installed on existing track and tunnels to monitor change in stress levels, deformation that may develop during construction activity. Contiguous board piles type 1 and type 2 were installed as shown in plan. The Barrett globe permanent stage column was casted up to soffit of the undercroft slab. The minimum horizontal distance between piles type 1, 2 and Barrett from the existing tunnel was kept more than 1 meter. The piles type 2 were done carefully as its founding level had to be only 1 meter above the running tunnel. Stage 2. Construction of roof slab. The excavation was done till soffit of roof slab. Top slab was casted supported over piles type 1 and 2 over the entire tunnel crossing zone and extended 10 meter on each side of station zone. Meanwhile, keeping an opening of 1.5 meter into 1.5 meter in roof slab over existing tunnel in each compartment 1, 3, 4 and 6 for dumping sand in case of the upliftment more than the desired level. Complete the waterproofing and protection layer works over the roof slab and backfill the area of roof slab over tunnel crossing zone up to the restated level. The aim of casting of roof slab and doing backfill on the top was to mobilize maximum loads of uplifting during excavation of base slab level. The tunnel confinement would limit the upliftment during further excavation. Here is the figure showing excavation in layers equally from both sides in 2 compartments. Here you can see layer-wise excavation pattern equally carried on each side over the existing tunnels. This needs to be done to distribute the effects of overburden equally. Also, you can see the backfilling has been done over the roof slab up to the reinstated level. These are the plunge columns. These are the plunge columns installed before the casting of roof slab to support the roof slabs. Stage 3. Excavation and construction of base slab in compartments. Excavation activity up to 500 mm below the strut level was carried out first in compartment 1 and 4 simultaneously from both sides. Complete the installation of whalers on pile type 1 and type 2 and fix the strut between the whalers. Excavate up to 100 mm below the soffit level of undercroft slab and complete the PCC in compartment 1 and 4. Providing that reinforcement as per the drawing of undercroft slab attached to the couplers in D wall and drilling holes in pile type 1 and 2 for rebarring by chemical anchorage. Also provide the reinforcement of retaining wall along both sides of crossing area. Undercroft slab was casted by using crystalline type of waterproofing system. The compartment 3 and 6 were then taken up for excavation activity, slab casting and other operations at the second go. Finally, the compartment 2 and 5 were taken up for excavation activity, slab casting and other operation only after completion of base slab in compartment 1, 3, 4 and 6. The above excavation sequence as suggested in construction methodology was strictly adhered in order to diminish the possibility of any upliftment of the tunnel lining due to excess overburden removal. This is a figure showing the excavation in compartment 1 and compartment 4. Also, it shows the installation of strut. Here you can see that. First, we have to complete the excavation and base slab activity in compartment 1 and 4. Then we have to complete the same sequence, follow the same sequence and complete the activity like excavation, installation of strut and construction of base slab in compartment 3 and 6. And finally, this is the compartment 2 and 5, which we have to taken up at last. Here are some side photograph of compartment which make the situation more understandable. This is a picture of compartment 1 and 4. This is the retaining wall. This is the undercroft slab. And these are the contiguous piles. These are plunge columns to support roof slab. These are struts. This is the opening left in roof slab over compartments for dumping sand in case of upliftment. This is a picture of compartment 2 and 5. This is the reinforcement for permanent column and this is the reinforcement for undercroft slab. Stage 4. In this stage, casting of permanent column over wherret was done and RCC retaining wall was done up to roof level. After construction of column and wall, dismantling and removal of piles by cutting, chiseling was taken up carefully in small concrete pieces, first in row 5 and then in row 2 and 3. After removal of all temporary piles in row 2 and 3 and 5, the load of roof slab got transferred to the permanent column constructed over wherret. The jointing of base slab in all compartments was carried out immediately after removal of piles. Thereafter, the works like casting of platform, track plane, removal of plunge columns, etc. were taken up. From this figure, we can see piles dismantled after permanent column attain strength. These are the piles and this is the permanent column. And in this figure shows the final section over tunnel crossing over area, after the construction of platform slab. This is the retaining wall, this is a permanent column. Preparation during execution of work. Sand was stored in gunny bags and kept ready for dumping over top of existing tunnels in case of upliftment got more than desired level. The boring of piling was done with rotary hydraulic rig with controlled speed, vibration and depth monitoring system. Working in compartment 1, 3, 4 and 6 was carried out only in night shift when the train services were not in operation in existing tunnels. The execution of work in compartment 2 and 5 was also taken up in daytime after completion of all activities including base level in compartment 1, 3, 4 and 6. Other safety precautions were like designated safety officer were always present, approved drawings were used, approved strain gauges were used, data should be monitored on a real-time basis, over excavation of soil was strictly prohibited, the power supply to instrumentation system was ensured. Now the instrumentation scheme. The main objective of instrumentation scheme is monitoring the displacement of track tunnels in respect to serviceability during train operations. Also to monitor the overall displacement that tunnels undergo in respect to the allowable deformation. The instruments were used to meet the above objectives are beam sensors, strain gauge, displacement monitoring points called DMPs. Beam sensors are used to monitor deformation in cracks. Strain gauges are used to monitor change in strain in tunneling. And DMPs are to monitor change in geometry of tunnels. These are the diagram figures showing the section, placement point of strain gauges, beam sensors. The total length of tunnel to monitor was 30 meter. The total number of instruments were 32 numbers of strain gauges, 20 number of beam sensors, and 98 DMPs. These are the sections showing placement of instruments, strain gauges, beam sensors, and DMPs. This is the upline, this is the upline, this is the downline. These are some pictures showing the DMPs. This is total robotic total station. This is beam sensor. This is strain gauge. All the readings of beam sensors, DMPs and strain gauges were available at data acquisition system placed at station. Data was also available on web-based information system which could be accessed from any computer. Contingency plan. Purpose of the instrumentation of existing DMRC tunnels was to monitor deformation in tunnel lining and tracks in real time which might have happened during various stages of excavation and to therefore trigger warning if exceeded certain acceptable pre-decided limits. Such warning would trigger immediate actions like stop of excavation of work at site, intimate caution to operations department, pre-decided preventive action for different type of alarms including but not limited to refilling of the soil if necessary. Okay, this slide shows the output of the beam sensor. This slide shows the strain gauge graph at section 5 for up and down line. Here you can see the variation. And these are the readings of DMPs, strain gauge and beam sensors. The maximum value obtained in DMPs is 2.9 mm. Strain gauge was 78 micron and beam sensor was 0.03 mm. These are the trigger values, these are the allowable values, and these are the design values. Finally, the conclusion. The construction of part of INA station was extremely challenging since the prospective deformation level in the existing tunnel was very critical. The deviation was closely monitored and remained well below the trigger value during the construction. The presence of operational tunnels beneath put constraints on the method of construction and hence design and construction sequence. However, these challenges were successfully addressed and the stated objectives have been fully achieved to create a structure which is unique in the sense not only nationally but probably globally. Thank you. Thank you once again and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Virender Kumar Sattawan. Ladies and gentlemen, we will adjourn for lunch break. You may log in again at 1:50 p.m. Malaysia time for our afternoon session.